What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. Welcome, welcome. We're back. Happy Friday the 13th. Thank you so much for tuning in. Beyond the Scare podcast. I'm part of your host, Danny. I'm joined by my bro. What's good, Pauly?
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday 13th.
Yes, happy Friday 13th. Thank you for joining your favorite scare experts as we dive into all things horror. First and foremost, if you're listening to us, whether it be on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, wherever it is, go ahead and like and subscribe. Please follow us. Let us know how you like the show. Also, we're looking for guests as well. So if you have, some knowledge on horror and you want to join us in some of our conversations, be sure to go ahead and DM us, and then we'll be picking some lucky people to join us on our calls in future episodes. As you know, today is Friday the 13th. I got my shirt on. You know, I'm in a little Camp Crystal Lake. What you got over there, Paul? What you got? It's a little summer 1980s.
1980 Camp Crystal Lake.
Yeah. As y'all know, Friday the 13th is definitely my favorite slasher franchise. But we're going to be talking about itself, it's Friday the 13th as a whole today. And I'm actually really excited to dig into some of this stuff because I actually learned a lot in my research, and hopefully y'all, can be enlightened as well. But first and foremost, Pauly, how was your day?
Day was good, and nothing too creepy has happened yet, but, day's still early.
Right. Yeah, I've been in the house most of the day, so I go out in a little bit. We'll see. Hopefully everything is still good. All right. So first I want to get into the Friday the 13th superstition, right? Obviously it's widely known. And where did it come from? How did we get here? So Friday the 13th superstition stems from a blend of biblical, historical events. So it's combining a lot of things, right? So we have the unluckiness of the number 13, and that stems back from the Greek era. Then we have it rooted in 13 guests of the Last Supper. And then also the 13th Norse god Loki. So it's hidden in that mythology as well, mixed with a little bit of Friday as the traditional day of the crucifixion, right, of Jesus. So the fear was further solidified by the arrest of the Knights Templar. So I want to go into kind of like the key historical and cultural roots that kind of led us here today. So first, the biblical tradition, right? The 13 guests, the Last Supper with Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Jesus. And additionally, in the Christian faith, Friday is kind of an unlucky day in the Christian tradition because Jesus was crucified on a Friday. Paul, did you know anything about that contributing to Friday the 13th?
I did actually. When I looked into the originally, I don't know, you probably remember the TV show.
Yeah.
It was the 80s, Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, yeah.
On Jason Voorhees at all. It was just based on basically a superstition and a bunch of weird things happening. I learned that then. However, looking into it again, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't realize, like the whole Friday being in Western tradition being just an unlucky day. And then like you said, also Jesus being crucified on a Friday. So those things were kind of newer to me.
Yeah, it was newer to me too, because like you said, I was kind of exposed to a little bit on Friday the 13th, which is a great show. If you have not seen it, please go check that out. And then so we move on to the Knights Templar also being a part of it. So in 1307, King Philip the Fourth of France arrested hundreds of Knight Templar on Friday, October 13th, 1307. So that's marking the day as a historical misfortune, right? As well. Then we go on to the Norse mythology, as I mentioned before. So there was a dinner party in Valhalla featuring 12 gods that was interrupted by none other than Loki, resulting in the death of Balder. So you see that parallel, obviously, with the Last Supper and the Valhalla dinner, right? And then the ancient superstition, the number 13 has been historically a bad omen by many cultures, including ancient Rome, Greece, like I mentioned before, and was considered a sign of death or misfortune. So, that's kind of crazy. But as you know, late adoption, while components are really ancient, obviously the specific fear of Friday the 13th nowadays didn't really start until the 19th or early 20th century, and the direct references appear in the early 1800s. So what we know as to be now Friday the 13th didn't really start getting into the limelight until the 1800s. It was a huge cultural impact, as we know, right? Not only did the great horror franchise Friday the 13th help solidify this fear in the modern culture, but also, as we'll talk about later on in the scare, so the fear of Friday the 13th and the term for that. And also the 13 Club. This is something I had no idea about. So the 13 Club in the late 19th century was a group aimed to debunk the superstitions by holding dinners with 13 attendees every 13th of the month. Especially they would have these festivities on Friday the 13th. And that was their aim. Their aim was to literally debunk all these superstitions. They don't exist, all that, which, some people believe in superstitions, some people don't. And whether you do or you don't, there are people in the world that do, and that has shaped a lot of what we see today.
So what was because I didn't know about that either. What was the ending result with that?
Child, they just kept having dinners. I was like, was the 13th Club still existing today? And it really didn't say anything. So if it does, it's it's one of those secret society type things. For our viewers, if you didn't know any of that surrounding Friday the 13th, very interesting as we dive into this special scare. So any last thoughts on the kind of like the historical and cultural roots of such a day?
No, I mean, obviously, I feel like now today, Friday 13th is starting to get away from that whole suspicious vibe and feeling and everything. It's kind of becoming like a normal day,
right?
But obviously, looking at to where it's the where the superstition is rooted from, and all this historical information and background is really key to understanding where all that came from, all the lore and stuff like that. And I mean, if you look at Friday 13th with Jason Voorhees, obviously, he was born on Friday 13th, and people tend to die on that day, so it's kind of continuing that thing. Something I came across too, and I don't know if you came across that, is they referenced the Friday being when Eve was tempted. Her temptation as well. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know the historical accuracy on that,
right?
It was mentioned, so I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too when I read that. I was like, okay. So, however, it's interesting to see, how it came to be. And I agree with you. Like Friday 13 is kind of losing its supernatural, superstitious kind of vibe, and it's becoming. Yeah, I mean, it's only still lived up to that because of people like us. The horror community, the people into that, and just kind of just keeping it alive, and so to speak. So we have one more Friday 13th this year, in November. So, we're going to have a special then as well. But you mentioned, knowing the cause, knowing where these superstitions develop from and why and all that. So that brings us to our next segment, because we're going to talk about some superstitions that we found quite interesting and we may have known or not known, but they are so wildly used around the world today. So why don't you go ahead and dive into that. Let's get into it.
Let's start off here with one that honestly, I could be wrong about this, but I feel like a majority of America still does. Or people that I know, at least I know I still do it. And I wouldn't consider myself an extremely superstitious person, but there are certain things that I do partake in, and this is one of them, right? So the first one we're going to talk about today is knocking on wood. So to kind of, if someone doesn't know what this is, but I'm going to explain it as in like simplest terms possible. So say for instance, Danny, we're talking, and then, I say, well, I have to drive home right now. It's raining. Man, I hope that I don't get in an accident. I knock on wood so that I do not get in an accident. You don't want that thing that you're talking about to happen. You want the opposite effect. Or you can say it in a reference of like just solidifying something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know I still do it. A lot of people still do it. But let's talk about where knocking on wood and the superstition behind it originated from. So is knocking on wood likely originated from ancient pagan belief, particular among that spirits and gods resided in trees, where touching or knocking on wood served to request protection or show gratitude or good fortune. So that's the main origination theory. The secondary one is it suggests that it stems from a 19th century British children's game called Tiggy Touchwood that essentially brought, immunity to the kids, health and prosper and everything like that. So this one I picked out of all the superstitions because, like I said, I still participated today. I found myself saying something and then saying knock on wood, and then you have to actually knock on wood a lot of times. You may be in a certain place and you may not have wood around you, so you like try to like find something that has a little like sliver or panel of wood or something to do it. I found myself doing that too. So this one I can honestly say that I adhere to a lot. What about you, Danny? Do you partake this one?
Yeah, so I've heard about the first one, the first explanation spiritually, but the second one with the children's game, I never heard that one. I'm not really, I'm not really a superstitious person, as you said. I've knocking on wood. I probably maybe done it maybe once or twice in my life. I don't really do that anymore, but I know it's something that a lot of people still do for sure, and it's just kind of like a habit, they'll just be like knocking wood, So yeah, that was interesting. I go into mine. I got one for you, a nice juicy one. So this is something that a lot of people have witnessed. A lot of people have witnessed, right? Just kind of walking by or driving or whatever, especially if you live on islands, because there are a lot of homeless cats and dogs walking around. But this one is the superstition of the black cat. Well, I gotta be black. No, so all right. So walking past a black cat, right, is generally seen as a superstition with beliefs varying, right? Because this was the interesting one that I read as well, varying from bad luck, which is most like in the US, Europe, to good fortune and prosperity in Japan, Scotland, and Ireland. So black cats are actually a positive thing in some areas. Like I've always, I don't know about you, Pauly, but I've always heard about the negative part of black cats. You don't want to pass them, you don't want to cross them, something's bad going to happen, all that. And it's historically linked to witchcraft, obviously, right? The myths are not based on fact, and sometimes this is like one of the most misunderstood animals that are deemed lucky. So, and then in some cultures, it's a time to reflect. When you pass by a black cat, it's a time to self-reflect on life, on where you're at, everything like that. So I thought that was an interesting one, because I'm so used to hearing the negative part of it. So me, myself, and I never really like. I've passed black cats for sure. I've always, in the back of my mind, I would think about it, but it wouldn't be like something I'd be like, oh my God, I'd go around, something like that. It wouldn't cause me to like act any type of way, but it's always in the back of your mind. It's like, oh, there's a black cat, you know. And I always think about Charmed when they see the same black cat on his head twice. So, but yeah, what about you, Polly? Have you did you know anything about it, or have you passed some black cats lately?
Yeah, so the black cat, crossing the path of a black cat, is a very popular one. Like I said, I'm not really a real superstitious person, so I just feel like some cats are creepy in general. So if I see one just sitting like down the street or something, just staring at me, because they'll stare you down, you know, and be like,
They
"What you
will,
doing?" You know. So
right?
and I mean, I had a black cat once. So it was a black cat, a little white patch on his chest, and he had green eyes. He was a cool cat. He was a little rambunctious, but most cats are. But ultimately, I am allergic to cats, so I had to end up
Exactly.
away, which sucked. But yeah, I mean, that cat was cool. So it was a black cat. So yeah. Yeah, so the next one here is honestly, I don't even know if I've experienced anyone that has done this and then like freaked out about it. But I mean, it's such like a rare occurrence type thing that, like, I mean, I don't know. But anyway, so it is the breaking a mirror superstition.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who do not know, if you break a mirror, you're the last one to touch it or like view it or something like that. The superstition is that it's your 7 years bad luck.
Yeah.
So the superstition that breaking a mirror causes 7 years of bad luck originated in ancient Rome, based on the belief that mirrors reflected the soul, and damaging them angered the gods. Romans, following Greek traditions, believed that life renewed every 7 years, meaning that broken mirrors required 7 years of healing in order to basically undamage that particular person's soul. So themes here, I mean, we know this through movies, pulp culture, horror movies, stuff like that mirrors are basically ways into or out from something, right? You know, we see mirrors, going to other dimensions, person's soul, other worlds, whatever it may be. The themes of this particular belief: soul reflection, divine punishment, 7 years, stems from the Roman belief that the body completely renews, like we just talked about. And then the economic factor too, which I thought was very interesting. Early high-quality silver-backed glass mirrors were exceptionally expensive and fragile, leading to the creation of superstitions to ensure that they were handled with extreme care. So that's more of a practical reason that the superstition occurred, saying this is expensive, high-quality stuff. You break it, you're gonna have 7 years bad luck.
Right. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I've never broken a mirror personally, knock on wood.
Exhibit A.
So I've never encountered that, nor do I think I would believe it would happen. But you never know. Some people truly believe this stuff. So Danny, what about you? Have you ever broken a mirror? And if so, did you think about, oh no, I have to do something to turn around this bad luck?
No, I've broken many glasses. being a bartender and server and such, but I've never broken a mirror. Yeah, the only thing with mirrors with me is what I think about is Candyman or like Bloody Mary. Those with you know what I mean? Other than that, like, yeah, I never really thought about the breaking a mirror, but I definitely knew about that. I didn't know about the whole like the logical, thing of them actually using that as well. Don't break my mirrors now. And I'm like, why is it 7? Why is it 7 years? Why not like 5, or 3? Okay, well, I'm gonna go over to my next one. So this is something we all do. I mean, in every country, you know, there's everyone does this really, and if it's often seen as rude if you don't, right? So this is saying this is saying bless you when you sneeze, right? Some people, and if you don't say it nowadays, it's like, oh, you know, you're rude.
When I sneeze and I'm alone, I say it to myself. So
right. It's like, it's really, like I said, it's really made its way around the world. I know bless you in like 3 different languages, just because it's like when you would say it after someone sneezes, I know how to do it, say it in like 3 different languages, because it's so, like I said, it's so prevalent and everywhere. But it was interesting. So I knew a little bit about the origin story, so it was nice. It was interesting to dig a little deeper. It likely originated from medieval superstitions that a sneeze allowed evil spirits to enter the body or caused the soul to escape. Right. So this was actually made very popular in the times of the witch trials. Right. And it was, if you sneezed, they would say bless you, because either evil escaped your body, or that was an opportunity for evil from the witches to get in you. It was seen as a protection, so to keep you away from the witches and the evil spirits. But this other theory I never really heard about. So another major theory links it to Pope Gregory. So from 590 to 604 AD, who encouraged blessings to protect people from the bubonic plague. So big plague going around, and the Pope just encouraged people to say bless you when they sneeze, if they're sick, you know, to keep them from dying, obviously, and to spiritually bless them and protect them. So that was an interesting theory on it as well. So they both could be right, you know what I mean? So it's just interesting because, you know, like obviously I say it, you know, obviously I say it sometimes, bless me when I'm alone, bless, you know, bless you, something like, it's always. And like I said, nowadays you are rude if you don't. You know what I mean? So it's just interesting to see how that superstition became the norm, literally. What about you? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I co-sign on that. You know, when like if I'm in public and I sneeze and no one says "God bless you," it's just normal to me to say it to myself. But like if I'm around people and they don't say it, I'm like, "Y'all rude." You know, it's just
right, right.
I'm always like saying it, like even if the person is like a mile away from me, I hear them sneeze, I'm like, you know, God bless you. It's just like you said, it's the norm, and for certain people, it's like so like quick, it's habit at this point.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
For some people, they're not fazed by it. So whatever that is.
I even say bless you when you cough, because they'd be like, oh, that was just a cough. I don't care, bless you. Like, you won't take the blessing or not.
Right, but you know, but PSA, just when you do that, cough and stuff, cover your mouth.
Cover your mouth, right? Arm, shoulder, anything.
Save that for another day. But yeah, and also another thing with the sneezing, which was later obviously determined to be a myth, right? But there was a belief that if you sneezed, while you sneeze, your heart stops, right?
Yeah.
By saying "God bless you," you are wishing upon that person continued prosperous life. Obviously, that was determined to be a myth. Your heart does not stop during that sneeze. But I mean, it you know, it's kind of reasonable to think that, right? You know, depending on how intense your sneeze is, like
right.
Skips the jump or something like that. Yeah, so I thought that was funny too.
Yeah, I remember that. Had everybody thinking. Yeah.
All right, so I mean that brings us to like my last pick for the superstition, which we kind of already addressed a lot, but it's the overall idea of Friday the 13th, right? Which we kind of touched on the background of it, the number 13, the day and everything, but there's actually people that are so frightened by this day Friday the 13th, it's a phobia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's pronouncing it is a struggle.
Right. That's all this.
But it's triskaidekaphobia. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Triskaidekaphobia. let's Danny, let's listen to a little pronunciation here and see how close that was.
Frigatrix.
Did you hear it?
What is it?
Triskaidekaphobia.
Triskaidekaphobia, yeah.
Triskaidekaphobia. All right. So I mean, she said it fast, so it's like it sounds better. But yeah, so that is the phobia and fear of Friday the 13th. Obviously, someone that is extremely superstitious, that believes that nothing good can come of that particular day. I have, I can't remember what I was watching. This was like a while ago, but it was actually, I think it was like a phobia documentary or something like that. And there was a person depicted on this documentary that actually had this phobia, and they would not leave their house. Like, so they wouldn't leave their house. They wouldn't cook. They wouldn't do anything that could perhaps like cause accidents or make them, slip, fall.
Right. Final Destination style.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I'm just like, imagine the rehabilitation and just like, I imagine this person like didn't leave their room for the entire day, and crazy. How debilitating that can be. But I mean, it's an actual phobia. I mean, I don't know the percentage of, people that actually have this legitimately, but it's out there.
Wow. Yeah, it's crazy. That is crazy. I guess there's another name for it too, like frigatriskaidekaphobia or something like that. Which I'm just like, that would be wild. That's wild. I knew people had a phobia of the day, but it goes so deep, and it's it's crazy. It really is wild. So today people are like, right now we're here having a nice conversation on our show, and some people are like balled up in their rooms right now with the lights off and and nothing on, nothing plugged in, nothing. You know what I mean? Like it's real. It is real.
So based on a report by NBC back in 2013, approximately 17 to 21 million people suffer from that phobia.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
I have not encountered anyone personally, but man, I would like to have a conversation with somebody that does have it personally.
Yeah, I would too. If anybody out there, if you do have that phobia, the triskaidekaphobia. I'm not trying to make light of the situation, but I wasn't gonna try to pronounce that without looking at it. But yeah, definitely, we would love to just talk with you. A lot of phobias obviously start with traumatic events around that certain thing. Yeah. So I was just I would love to dig a little deeper.
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, you hear like I like those niche like phobias. You know what I mean? The ones like so like prevalent. Like we hear arachnophobia, claustrophobia, all that stuff. But these like niche ones that I would like to hear people some of those.
Right, like people who are deadly afraid of bananas. There's a phobia of that. It's crazy. I'm just like, wow, I love bananas, but okay, you know what I mean? Like, deadly,
like 2 to 3 times
deadly afraid of bananas. It's just like, wow. But yeah, that's really interesting. So I'm gonna go into my last one. So many people may know about this one. This is kind of like one that's you don't really see around a lot. And I guess people are kind of losing this superstition. There is still obviously people who believe in it, but it's not as prevalent as it used to be. And so this one is passing under ladders, which personally, I don't like passing on ladders just because it's not safe. And it's like, why would I do that? And I do think of it in my back of my mind, like, oh, okay, yeah, there's a superstition about this, but it's mainly just like, it's kind of a dumb thing to do. So that's why you gotta walk around, walk on the other side. You never know what's going to happen or fall on you. So the superstition against walking on a ladder actually originated in ancient Egypt about 5,000 years ago due to the sacred nature of a triangle formed by leaning ladders, which was later reinforced by beliefs regarding the Holy Trinity. So let's dive a little deeper into that, right? So we have ancient Egypt, sacred geometry. So ladders leaning up against each other, symbolizing the pyramids and the Trinity of gods. Passing through this triangle was believed to desecrate this sacred space and evoke evil spirits. So that's where that came from in ancient Egypt. And let's be honest, they had a lot of ladders building those pyramids and those and those monuments. So I can see where that came from, right? And so a Christian symbolism. So the triangle also represented the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Breaking the triangle by walking underneath it was seen as blasphemy, associating the act with wickedness and or temptation. So that's what stirred them away from that one. So we're seeing this, kind of common theme of Trinity of gods, right? And then we go to the medieval gallows. So in 17th century England, a ladder leaning against a wall resembled the structure used for hanging, making it a symbol of death and a shortcut to the gallows. So that was the one that kind of threw me for a loop. That's the one I never even heard of, right? In medieval times. So a ladder leaning against the wall was so similar to a gallows or guillotine that they were like, no, no, we're not doing that. It literally looked like the symbol of death. So people would actually leave a ladder outside of people's homes and as a threat to like, oh, death was near. So that was interesting. And then obviously you have just the practical safety part of it, right? Which I mentioned, like it's a hazard to walk underneath it. You can be hit by all types of things. And then so we go like a little deeper into it and how to reverse it. So this is one of the bad luck things that you can reverse. You mentioned some of your bad luck, which you can reverse with that, right? And this one's you can reverse as well. You can pass back through it, making a wish.
Yeah.
All right. And waking a wish at the same time or crossing your fingers until you see a dog. I did not know that one. That was interesting.
Dog one.
So you gotta keep your fingers crossed until you see a dog. And then that will reverse the bad luck brought on you. So interesting.
That is very interesting.
Ladders go so deep.
I mean, back then, they had to come up with some stuff because and I mean, like you, it's just unsafe to do it. So why would you do it in the first place?
Right.
Ladder and stuff. But but yeah, I mean, I knew about the going back underneath it. I knew about the dog one. So if you literally have to run to go find a dog or go home to get your dog.
Right. Or your whole day, you're going to be like this.
You gotta go through your entire workday just like holding
this is like right. Exactly. I'm like, what in the world is going on? Yeah, it's just interesting. Like, ancient Egypt, Christian symbolism, I get it. Even the medieval gallows, like I get it. You know what I mean? Like that's a guillotine looked like that, and there was just, but like you said, it's just humans are interesting.
And that's like that's kind of, I don't know. I get the guillotine one is kind of a stretch for me.
Yeah. I mean, I can see.
I guess you like stood it up, but
yeah. And like, granted, remember, like also ladders didn't look like our ladders today. So maybe it looked like too similar to like, the structure wise. I don't know, but All I know is leaving ladders outside people's homes as as a threat. That's crazy.
That's insane. It's like it's that serious, huh? You like
It really is that
you walk
serious.
outside the next morning, see a ladder, you're like, oh snap. Who I could stop yesterday?
Better watch out today. No. But yeah, so in ladders, then they only had the one side. So now we got ladders that make its own triangle. So that's even worse.
That part.
So, but yeah, that was, wraps up our 6 superstitions that we wanted to talk about. And it is so prevalent that most buildings today around the world do not have a 13th floor because of this, So it's still really prevalent. It's, we said it's kind of like disappearing as far as like a superstition day, but at the end of the day, it's still one of those days that people either have a good feeling towards, a bad feeling towards, or we just like to make fun of it. You know what I mean? So, any last remarks on there?
Yeah, and it's still one of those days that like make you think, right? Even if you're not a superstitious person, or you're just like on Friday 13th, you go about your everyday, just like any other day, it still like makes you think. You're like, oh, today's Friday 13th, and you have a process behind it and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So I don't know I don't think that will ever leave.
Right.
But the extent of how far we've come from it is obviously different, right?
There's so many different ones, right? There's so many. If you practice ones yourself, and you're like, go ahead and drop it in the comments. We love to hear from you and get your thoughts and perspective of why you do these things.
Or more importantly, if you have one of those niche phobias,
let
us know, because I would definitely all jokes aside, I would want to know like what you experience, and I mean, not your day to day, but just like, I doubt we'll find someone that has a triskaidekaphobia, but if we did, that would be great, because I would love to talk about it.
Right, exactly. I mean, there's fear. What, I forgot the name of it, but there's fear of your birthday. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. There's like a phobia for every thing. It seems like
almost everything there is.
Almost everything.
That's why I was like, I wanted to look up that percentage, because I'm wondering if it's like 5-10% of people, but no, it's literally, that's a big percentage.
Yeah, that's a big number. Like we said, please go ahead and or chime in. We'd love to hear what's going on and with you and your phobias. If you have any niche ones, we'd love to hear about that as well. So I want to move on and talk about 2 stories real quick that I thought were very interesting, and that happened on Friday the 13th. There's a lot of crazy things happen on this day in my research, but there's 2 mysterious incidents that happened. One is unsolved, and I'm going to dig into that one first. So this one happened November 13th, 2015 in Freeland, Pennsylvania, at what's known as the cottage. And that's the cottage right there. It just looks creepy, don't it, Pauly? Like
those like windows, like why did that many windows on it?
Right. It looks like some crazy shit is about to happen there. But so Donnie, this guy named Donnie, right? That place is a place you can rent out rooms. So you can rent out rooms there. I'm pretty sure they renovated it right now. It looks a lot better. But you rent out rooms, and so he was staying in one of the rooms. He was asked to paint over the floor. So he went there to do a job, and then he stayed there, right? So he was asked to paint over this floor. The paint had to be oil-based, okay? And it had to be, he had to paint over as many coats as possible. That's what he was instructed to do. When he came there, he found that a huge amount of blood was on this floor, right? That he was instructed to paint over. Before that, he was like, why are they asking me to paint something they can put a carpet over, all this stuff? And that's what he came to. So feared for his life. He was thinking to himself, I know too much. I've seen too much. he's obviously seen a few horror movies. He knew he probably wasn't gonna get out of there alive, right? So they didn't let him leave, which was crazy. So here you are coming to do a job, and now you're pretty much staying in this cottage forcibly. And then the next morning, they brought a bag of 5 weapons. And I'm saying it was like an AK-47. It was a Magnum. It was like, oh my gosh, shotgun. It was 5 different weapons. It was crazy. They put him in his room and they told him to strip them clean and clean them thoroughly, thoroughly, using bleach and ammonia. So after that, he was finally, let out all this stuff. He went obviously directly to the cops, told them. He met up with, I guess, the local sheriff, Chief Harris, and told him everything. And his response was, mind your own business. Wow, yeah, crazy, right? So he ends up going, he does his whole testimony and all that stuff. And he talks to other cops and all that. And they were just like, why didn't you go to anybody? He told them, I went to Chief Harris and this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. He goes back to the house. Chief Harris is leaving the cottage. He goes into the house. Everyone is quiet, not saying one word. So it's just a very interesting turn of events. Now, I definitely want you to check this out. You can see it on Friday the 13th Murders. You can check it out on Hulu or Max, and really check this story out. It is still unsolved to this. It is still unsolved till this day. They did some tests they tried to do some tests on the blood, which was completely gone, right? And all evidence was tampered with. Even Donnie said when he was trying to clean the guns, he left a little bit of fingerprints on there to kind of, throw them off to the killers or whoever they were. Didn't work. So here we are, 10 years, about 11 years later, and it's still kind of one of those folklore, urban legends of who did this, why was Chief Harris hiding, or what was he hiding? And this is all in Freeland, Pennsylvania. So crazy, unsolved mystery on Friday the 13th. What do you think about that whole scenario, Paul? It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of crazy. It's giving me Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right? Exactly. Everybody was in on it.
Everybody in on it. But I mean, the chief, he said, mind your business. I mean, you alive, just mind your business. I would have been like, okay.
Right. But that is crazy though.
Yeah, it's insane.
I don't know if I would even did the first job. I know he was scared for his life, and they were pretty much keeping him there. But I'm like, that's crazy. I don't know.
And yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that can happen, right? It's just you go somewhere, freelance, whatever, and you go there to do a job, and then these people could be loony or have you doing something you don't want to do because you're forced to do it, and at that point you're in it.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, that was a crazy story. So my next story, I want to talk about, this one is wild too. So this happened June 13th, 1990, of course, Friday 13th. It was in Wiley, Texas. And this is known as the Candy Montgomery case. And this is crazy. So Betty Gore, the school teacher of two young children, they got into an altercation, right? So they were neighbors. Their children played together, just a beautiful white suburban neighborhood. Nothing going on, nothing to see here, right? And then it came out that it was an affair happening between Betty's husband and Candy, right? I don't know where Candy's husband was because Candy has 2 children too, but I don't know. They didn't say anything about that. So Alan is Betty's husband's name, right? So when one day when Alan was out of town, it is said that Candy had went over to see if her kid left her swimming trunks there. So she went in there, knocked on the door. Betty opened, blah, blah, blah. They came in. They had this whole conversation. Betty confronted her. You sleeping with my man. And then, right? And so I can only imagine how that went. Candy claims that Betty grabbed an axe, went towards her. They had this whole shuffle, right? And Candy claimed self-defense. She took the axe and killed Betty. Now, the crazy thing is, right? She hit her 41 times. Half her face was missing. So that means all over her body. 41 times is insane. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's only what the coroner could tell, right? So, I mean, she's dead she's dead at 5, not even like before that, right? So, like, if you wanted her dead, but this was something more than that, right? So, the thing is, the crazy part is, she didn't call the police afterwards. She didn't report anything. She wiped herself off, took a shower, went about her day. She even attended her daughter's school performance that night. Chilling, straight chilling, right? Yeah, it is. And then, so, you know, the trial was going not so great in her favor because they're like, okay, so you claim self-defense, but you whacked her 41 times. That doesn't make sense. You went on about your day. It's given that you definitely had this intent to kill, right? So when she took the stand, talking Candy, she said that Betty, she just remembers, Betty said, you can't have them. You can't have them. And then came to her with an axe. And then she said everything went blank after that. So that's what her story was on the stand when she took trial, right? So they went on to claim. They brought a psychiatrist in, a hypnosis, all that, right? They claimed she was under a hypnosis from childhood trauma that was triggered during that whole altercation. Tests were ran that deemed her in a disassociated state, and she walked away a free woman. Now, I have all types of questions, but my thing is like, yes, okay, do I believe that people can just blank out, right? And it just happened, and that, you know, whatever takes them, evil, whatever takes them at that moment, and they're just going for it. Yes, I do believe that. However, there had to be a time that you came to. And and it had to be a time that you came to and you're here at your child's, you know, your daughter's school performance. You know what I mean? And it just went blank. You know what I mean? So I just can't go with the whole hypnosis, disassociated state, all that. Like, I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like there's a certain point you come to, and at most it had to be around like the 15th or 16th whack, like at maximum. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Once you have that blood all over your face, everywhere else, it's like it was what they call in law a heat of the moment, a murder. Yeah. And during this time, like this was all new, you know, this whole like trauma. How to evaluate it, how to in the courtroom, you know, how to make it admissible, all that. So I understand how she got off.
Yeah.
Was it right? No, at all. No, not at all. That wouldn't have flown today. That wouldn't have happened today.
Not at all.
But yeah, it's crazy and it's ridiculous because you know what this is and you know what it was.
Of course. Of course. You know it's wild, yeah. And then Alan's out of town. He comes back, and I don't even know. I'm like, listen, like you got 2 women, and that goes to show you, like you never know who you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they had this affair that turned into something just catastrophic and bloody. And of course, she got off. You know, like you said, it was the '80s. You know, dealing with all the trauma and all that, and She literally looked like Betty Crocker. So I mean, it's like she was like, oh, she didn't, she's just dealing with some stuff. No, 41 hits. That's insane. So yeah, I think she should have definitely got life without parole. And but I could say and they said she was unscathed. That's the thing. She didn't have really any marks on her, and you know what I mean. So it told me that this is literally your intent. Your intent was to take this girl out because you want Alan. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Poor Betty.
We've seen it many times, before.
Right.
Some to this extent, some of a lesser extent. But yeah, we've seen it. But what kind of when I learned about this, what kind of came to mind? Serial Mom.
Oh yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking when I saw her. I was like, break.
If the viewers have not seen Serial Mom, but please go see it. I mean, it's the same thing with her, right? She was a house mom, all put together and stuff. And,
got away with the crimes. Another great Matthew Lillard is in there. Since we were just talking about him.
Yeah, Matthew Lillard's in there. Who else? Ricky Lake.
Ricky Lake, yes.
Obviously, Kathleen Turner, who plays the mom. So yeah, it's a good movie.
It's a great movie. Great movie. Well, that about does it, everybody. This is our special Friday the 13th episode. We hope you enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in with us. Do you have any last comments, Paul?
No, thanks for joining in on this second Friday the 13th of the year. We'll see you guys for another Friday the 13th episode, like Danny said, in November, our last one of the year. Just looking around, makes you think about the superstitions, right? We some of us partake in them every day, have those superstitions we don't know that we do. We don't think about it. Like I said, I'm a huge knock on wood person. It's just so normal. I don't even know when I'm, it just happens. But you realize you're like, oh, that's a superstition. So yeah, it's interesting. Definitely.
Most definitely. That's it for me, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Friday the 13th and be safe out there. There's a lot happening. There's a lot happening in the world. So be safe. And then we're definitely gonna see you next scare. So
yes, I second that. Be safe out there, be good to one another, and just have fun with life. Life is too short. Let's all just enjoy each other for who we are. All right. Yes. Danny, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere at I am Danny Royce.
All right. You guys can find me at Alpha Boy with an I-1. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time on the next Scaresode.
Stay creepy, y'all.